So hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again with another video for the YouTube channel about a custom printed Marvel Omnibus. In this case, bit of a blast from the past. I'm actually going to redo my original first ever video on this channel, which was for a custom printed Spider-Man Omnibus. I know they always say push forward, never look back, but that video is such a difference in quality from all the subsequent ones. It's my first ever video, my first ever chance at editing. It was a bit of a mess. I'm looking back on it now, even though it's one of my most popular videos, I'm really not happy with the quality, so I thought this is a chance to address that, to provide a deeper dive into the binding order, to talk about it a little bit more, and also hopefully drive a bit more traffic to the channel. So with no further ado, here's the volume itself, a custom printed Spider-Man Omnibus. I've set it here between my two Avengers Hickman omnibuses, which were printed and provided and distributed by Marvel, obviously. There you can see it standing up on its side, and you see that it matches perfectly in the shelf. I'll talk a little bit about custom prints and what that means in a second. I just want to dive into the bind order. So we're starting here with the series Peter Parker Spider-Man. That's issue 44, and issues 44, 45, 46 and 47 constitute a fantastic four issue arc created by Jenkins and illustrated by Ramos. Really highly recommended. One of the best Green Goblin stories in recent memory, to be honest. Subsequent to that, I do skip a few issues, and unfortunately Jenkins and Ramos both step away from the series. Ramos continued providing some cover artwork, but I jump back in at issue 51, which is written by Wells, and that's the Manic Monday story, 51, 52, and then I stick with 53, 54 and 55. They're all written by Wells. The cover artwork is done by Ramos, looks brilliant, and you'll see the issue there for issue 55, which is Rules of the Game Part 3, is the cover art that I essentially used for the cover of the dust jacket, which I'll show you again in a second. The eagle-eyed glance, you may have noticed that the dust jacket itself has the logo Peter Parker Spider-Man, as you can see here, whereas the spine uses Spectacular Spider-Man, and the reason for that is that Omnibus combines issues from both those runs. Peter Parker Spider-Man finished in 2003, at which point Jenkins and Ramos were immediately given a new series, Spectacular Spider-Man, to start the same year. And that's where I continued collecting for this particular volume. So subsequent to this issue 55, I then collect issue 1 of Spectacular Spider-Man, written by Jenkins, illustrated by Ramos. And you'll see there that the first 5-issue arc is all about Venom, and it's a phenomenal arc called The Hunger. The trade paperback is out of print and has been for a while. And actually it was in trying to track down that trade paperback that I gave up. It was just way too expensive, way too hard to find. So that's when I started to consider and look into how to get into the custom printed Omnibus game. After those first 5 issues, you've then got issues 6, 7, 8 and 9, which are Doc Ock issues. It's a good solid Doc Ock story with good solid artwork. Subsequent to that, there's a 3-issue Lizard story, which I kept in. Not quite as good, but still it's a classic grade A Spider-Man villain, and I thought it went well with the rest of the Omnibus. At that point, I basically stopped collecting in any kind of coherent way, because the rest of Spectacular Spider-Man, and I know it has its fans, I personally didn't like. Too many crossovers with other series like The Other, too many kind of weird retconning kind of stories going on, wasn't a big fan. What I did collect were the following 2 issues, and that's issues 22 and 21. And yes, before you go any further, I did collect them in that order. I put them in here backwards. And the reason for that is to do with the narrative flow and the rhythm of the story. Issue 22 is a really dark issue. They're both self-contained, but the self-contained story in issue 22 ends essentially with Spider-Man holding a dead body in the rain and crying. It's pretty bleak, it's pretty dark. It's a great story, but it's not how you really want to end an omnibus. Whereas issue 21 is more of a classic, almost Silver Age kind of story about a poker game and Spider-Man and his friends and the whole sort of friendly neighbourhood aspect. And it ends with a great scene of Spider-Man laughing. And actually that's kind of how I wanted to finish the omnibus in terms of its tonality. Obviously you can put these things in any order you want, I'll chat about that in a second, but that's why I picked those 2 in that order. So here's another picture of the omnibus there. And now what I want to do is actually want to give you a chance to have a look at a flick through of the omnibus and see exactly what I've been doing with it. So you'll see there on the cover, Peter Parker Spider-Man, and I've cleaned up that cover there, so it's just a nice cover for the omnibus. And there on the side, Spectacular Spider-Man. I know some people will go bonkers and absolutely hate that, but I quite like it. Here's an image from within one of the issues that I cleaned up. It's Venom standing over Spider-Man, really like it. Here the inside dust jackets. What I did, this is my very first ever printed omnibus, I experimented with having end leaves in this one, and you'll see there I've got the picture of Eddie Brock kneeling in a confessional speaking to a priest with the Venom symbol kind of lurking or hovering over him. So a really good powerful image. and then some usual sort of biography data on the back flap. And then on the front inside leaf, I kind of ran out of ideas, so I did the same thing. So what you see there is, again, Eddie, kneeling, priest, venom, and so on. I was thinking of inverting the image, but I decided not to. If you want to pause the video and have a read through there, you'll see the sort of blurb I put in, but essentially I've explained the bind order and what's in those issues. So I'm just going to do a quick flick through here just to give you an idea of how it works. And whilst I do that, I'm just going to give you a quick overview again of what the process is and what the point behind this is. So, like I said, it's a custom printed, custom bound omnibus. Like a lot of custom binds, the first thing that means is that you can have your own custom binding order. So the one that I picked with things slightly out of sequence and crossing between 2 or 3 different series, that's all up to you. These things are totally up to personal choice, and I personally am a big fan of just picking whatever you want and doing it however you want. Ultimately, you can make it for yourself, so why not make it exactly how you want, even if that means maybe dropping half an issue here or throwing in another issue from a completely unrelated series elsewhere. If you want to see more of that sort of stuff, I've got other videos about custom printed omnibuses, my Hulk ones, my Heroes Reborn ones, that kind of highlight the sort of thing I mean. In addition, obviously, doing a custom print means that you can have these things printed to the exact size that you want and have them done with all the different things like edge-to-edge bleeding and so on, exactly how you want to make the look of it just right. One of the problems that I found with this, unfortunately, is given it was my first ever Marvel Omnibus, I kind of neglected to crop out all those the little artifacts you get at the top of a single issue page, which are little green boxes, little blue boxes. I mentioned them in my first ever Heroes Reborn video, which is Heroes Reborn Volume 1, where I sort of go into detail of all the different digital tweaks you can make to the images before you print them. It's all very well me saying that, I never actually did it for this omnibus, and it kind of annoys me because now that I flick through it, I can see that the quality of my previous omnibuses is just so much, my previous videos rather, is so much better because they were later omnibuses. So, kind of galling. I don't know what I'm going to do with this omnibus, if I'm ever going to remake it. I don't think I will, because it's an expensive and laborious process to get one made in the first place. But as you'll see from the flick through here, there is the occasional little green or blue box right at the top, some pink ones in some pages, which is a weird artifact of 90s comics and early 2000 comics and how floppies get printed, basically. So that's kind of frustrating, but hopefully flicking through here you can see just the benefits of having it the right size, having it on glossy paper, having it bound the way that you wanted, most importantly having no adverts in it whatsoever, which for me is kind of the golden bullet. It's the ultimate reason to have stuff done in the custom print rather than the custom bind. I mean, having the matching size is brilliant, but getting rid of the adverts, oh god, it's literally the best thing in the world, because I really hate having those in the reading experience. So there's the video, there's a bit of an overview, hopefully that helps. In terms of the cover, like I say, it combines stuff from Peter Parker Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man. I hope you enjoy the flick through, hope it makes a bit more sense than the previous video and dives into it in a bit more detail. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. In terms of further stuff for the channel, all I can say is please like, comment, subscribe. Please support the channel by checking out No Gods or Kings, which is my episodic prose novel about comic books and superheroes. It's available on Amazon.com or available on my website, nogodsorkings.com. The next video will be out in a couple of weeks' time. I've got a few more custom binds, custom prints and various little projects on the go. So hopefully I'll be able to keep you guys interested. Thanks for watching, and as always, until next time, stay classy.